I found a good scripture I like. It's over 2 Corinthians. Went with that real well. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 12. For we dare not make ourselves the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves, but they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. I thought that's a real good parallel scripture there. It's about us comparing ourselves to ourselves. We all can look better if we just compare ourselves to each other, can't we? So that's the idea that's here is we look at ourselves without the wrong comparison. We can all look pretty good. So we got to make sure we're using the right comparison when we do that. Question number 2. Anybody fill in those 3 blanks? Okay. That proud look, that haughtiness is sin. We've seen this a number of other times through the scripture so far in the book of Proverbs about the pitfalls of haughtiness and pride. Question number 3. Finish the sentence. It is better. Better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house with a brawling woman. I had a couple of verses written down. I think it's in 2 Samuel. No, excuse me. Wrong one. It's also in chapter 25 of Proverbs, verse 24. Actually, verses 19 and 24. A couple other scriptures that mention the same topic. Confident, excuse me. 25. I'll make sure I'm in the. I tried to scribble this all on one sheet of paper, and it may not have been very good for me.
Chapter 25, verse 24 says
yeah.
It's better to dwell.
Yeah, it is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling in a white house, in the same verse. I had verse 19 written down here, and I'm not sure. Excuse me? Yeah. So a contentious woman is not a good thing to live with. So you young men, you're good looking for a wife, make sure you don't pick one that's contentious. And we study that a little farther. I think you can find some things that we as husbands can do to help that as well as to not being a contributing factor to that thing. So question number 4, who will cry and not be heard?
Whoso stoppeth his ears at the crying of the poor, verse 13.
Yes, whoever stops his ear at crying of the poor. There is a responsibility we have to the poor. Over in the book of Matthew in chapter 25, verse 43, it says, I was a stranger and you took me not in, naked, and you clothed me not, sick and in prison, and you visited me not. The Lord is speaking. And if you also remember in the book of Acts, in chapter 16, verses 20 and 21, there it talks about Lazarus. Lazarus laid at the gate and was a poor beggar. How at the end of his life and at the end of the rich man's life that Lazarus was taken into the bosom of Abraham for comfort. And the rich man, which ignored Lazarus and did nothing for him in his lifetime, begged the Lord that so much that even Lazarus could dip his tongue in the cold water to touch his tongue to soothe him. And we see a good example there of what responsibility we have to help the poor that we know of, and we can. Question number 5, who finds life, righteousness, and honor? Okay, who falleth after righteousness and mercy? Who keeps his soul from troubles? Okay. Whosoever keepeth his mouth and his tongue. Anybody got a good comparative scripture for that? I found one over in 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. It reads, for he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips that they speak no guile. So he who keepeth his mouth and keepeth his tongue will see a reward. We find that in verse 23. Question number 7. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nope. No. Once they go out you, there's no taking them back, and it can how you speak to each other and people in general can be can create some good things or it can create some bad things. So self-control with their tongue is a very critical part of our Christian walk in life. Absolutely. Yeah, wisdom on how to use our tongue at each and every thing, opportunity or encounter we may have as a continual task or work. What is rather to be chosen? A good name. We find that there in chapter 22 and verse 1. A good name and having favor. I found a few scriptures in the New Testament refers that to being a good report. It's kind of mentioned in the book of Acts. Trying to reflect here. let's say chapter 6, chapter 6, maybe verse 3, where they were discussing that to find 7 men of the congregation there in Jerusalem to attend to the needs of the widows that had been not being taken care of. That's one of the things they were directed to find 7 men of good report. There's several other good scriptures given through the book of Acts along that same line. When you talk about elders, you want men of good report to have a good reputation in the community. So having a good name is something we should desire. What is the difference between the prudent and the simple?
Prudent foresees evil, hiding himself from it, and simply passes on.
Yeah, the prudent foresees the evil and avoids it. And the simple may even ignore warnings and